Good afternoon. Today is the 26th of April, and it's time for yet another not particularly interesting, probably very boring, and definitely quite vague vlog. You know, one of these days I really must get to the bottom of why this phone, every time you turn it on, even with the radio unit off, it tries to install new software. That's very annoying. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the fact that a couple of weeks ago, I think a new car came into my possession, but actually it didn't. It's a car that you've seen on the channel many times before, because actually my mother used to own it. In fact, I think really she still does. It's just that registered keeper has changed, and that registered keeper is me. The reason why we've done this is because I might have mentioned this in the very vague vlog number 90 a couple of weeks ago. Yes, we've done 92 very vague vlogs on this channel. I'm actually thinking of maybe stopping doing these at some point, because I don't know really how many of you really are that bothered about them. Let me know if you want to continue past 100, but that's just something I'm thinking about at the moment. But anyway, my mother has been in hospital now since Easter Saturday, which was around, I think, the 7th or 8th of April, I forget exactly. She went into hospital because she had a fall in the early morning of Easter Saturday. She had some problems with her mobility. She actually has had a few falls in the last 18 months. Most of them were at night, and what she has been doing, which is not the most sensible thing, but because she's got vascular dementia, sometimes people do this sort of stuff, is stay up very, very late, not listen to the carer that she's had, and fall asleep either in the kitchen and sometimes fall off the chair and crack her head on the floor, which has happened a couple of times. That wasn't much fun, finding her at 11:30 one Sunday night, which is what happened last year. Or in this instance, falling asleep on the toilet and not being able to get up if you've sort of fallen over, which my mother did. She fell onto the floor and she couldn't get back up. Fortunately, the carer heard her when she was screaming out. It was about 6 o'clock on Easter Saturday morning. She spent a while trying to get up but not remembering how to do it, and so eventually the carer had to call the ambulance and they took her in. I want to make it very clear that when I'm relating this story, it's not because I want any way kind of advice. I don't really want sympathy at all. There's a lot of really terrible situations happening in the world right now. A lot of your situation with your family is very difficult. It's perhaps even worse than what I'm telling you. And so I don't, sympathy is not something that I'm trying to get. If it comes across as that, I'm very sorry. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to report sort of what's happened, because you might see some changes in the way that some of the videos are actually made because of this. So my mother's not actually driven for a long time. I've been visiting her in hospital, and actually she's doing okay. We think the fall was caused by a combination of her mobility getting worse, her not going to bed, and also an imbalance in the medication, and also the salt and sugar levels in her blood. She's actually at a point now, and this is quite a long time later, that the balance is a lot better now. She's actually doing far better. She's only on paracetamol, I think. She's very confused, and when I went to see her a couple of days after the fall had happened, because we were away at the time visiting my father-in-law in the northwest, she didn't really recognise me initially. The carer had to point me out to her. So she was very confused. She didn't even realise she was in hospital for quite a long time. She does now, and she is actually on isolation ward because she contracted coronavirus whilst in hospital, which unfortunately a lot of people seem to be doing at the moment. My mother's had no ill effects from the coronavirus actually. She was a lot better with the coronavirus. Actually, the first time she's had it actually. But when I got it in 2021, she actually was a lot better with it, which is surprising. But it happens to a lot of older people actually. That I've heard of, and actually they don't seem to have such bad effects from it as some of the younger people do, which is really weird. But yeah, she's absolutely fine. She's just waiting to be discharged to what they call a D2A bed, which is kind of like a halfway house placement, so they can assess her. But we don't think at this point that she's probably going to be going back and living in a house, because they've said actually that she would need 2 carers, one at the day and one at the night, and we might have to adapt the house. But one of the things that my mother has been really acutely kind of noticing over quite a long period of time is sort of isolation that she's been feeling. And this went through the pandemic and everything like that, and the pandemic made her sort of dementia and some of the other problems that she's had worse, like scoliosis and the cognitive ability that she sort of had, and she's had mania and all kinds of other things, and they thought she was just delusional initially when she got to hospital, but actually it's a lot of it's to do with dementia. She keeps asking where her car is, even though it's parked on her drive. She keeps asking me to take her home, but I really can't, because she's not in a fit state to go home. She's got a very little short-term memory, and we're just having to tell people what's happened and everything like that. So yeah, we think she might be going straight into a care home, because there's a lot more activity, and also there's less chance of her not being sort of found if she has a fall in the night or something. She's actually at the care home. My lady wife used to work in one actually, and as did my other 2 sisters-in-law. They all worked in care homes, so they're very familiar with the way that it works, and we think probably it's the best thing for her. Now, we're going to keep her car. She doesn't want to sell it, even though she's not driven it. So we think early 2021, could be even before that actually. But we're going to keep it. We're going to be using it to go around in. I think relying upon a 20-year-old Rover and a 32-year-old Volvo to transport my mother around is maybe not the best thing, so we'll keep it, and I'll be using it, as I've been using it for quite some time now, to do a lot of the sort of work-related journeys, sourcing cars for clients. That's the ideal car to use for doing that, really. My lady wife uses the Sanyong. I do occasionally use this for doing client jobs, but I don't tend to, because not a lot of people I actually do jobs for are enthusiasts. Actually, they don't appreciate you driving around in a really, really old Rover as a appropriate sort of business car. Whereas the Mercedes has done, I think, 26,000 miles is all it's done. My mother's had it from new, and it's just a little bit better for doing a lot of the long motorway trips and things like that. And so we will keep it, although it's now in my name. I consider it to be hers, and we will hold on to it, because there's nothing really wrong with it. It's due a service and an MOT some point in June, and that's about it. It just kind of keeps going. We don't do more than one report a year on that car, because not a lot of you are that interested in the 2017 C-Class on this channel. You're not really that bothered. Same with Mr. Richardson's 2017 C-Class. I think one of the reasons he bought that car was actually because he'd driven one in 2020. You can see the reviews we did on 2020 on that car on my channel, on Trajectory Reviews, and also on Furious Driving, because he drove it the same. We did them on the same day in May 2020. I think it was the last day of May. I think 31st of May 2020 we did those reviews. And I think, in the back of his mind, he actually decided he bought one. Unfortunately, we can't talk about his one on my channel, but his one's a bit different from my mother's one. But it also means that potentially we could be moving house. Actually, we might not actually need our house anymore. We could maybe move in to my mother's house. I don't know. So some of the videos you'll see, some of the journeys that are regularly done, like this one, you might see they've not been done anymore. You might see the videos. We don't tend to actually film too much anyway at house anymore. My mother's house. We don't tend to do that so much anymore. I think it's just better not, if you can avoid it, not to do that. But yes, that's probably what will be happening. It's just one of these things. I know Ian Seabrook a couple of years ago had a very sad thing happen in his family with his sister, who had Down syndrome, rather like my brother does. My brother's got Down syndrome, and so, you know, these things happen. This is unfortunately the reality of life, that we have unexpected things happen. And my mother's dementia, she's not that old, she's in her early 70s. I was speaking actually with Michael, who's the head of the Test Valley Motor Enthusiasts, the club that my lady wife and I belong to, the local classic car club, and he also had to deal with his mother's dementia. She was a lot older, she was in the early 90s, but his father, amazingly, he's absolutely fine. He's 94, he's still driving, and mentally and physically, I mean, obviously he's quite old, but he's kind of alright. You know, some people, they have a lot of physical and mental decline relatively early in life, say 60s, 70s, but some people just don't. There you go, it's just the way that it is. I know that one of my viewers out there also is looking after his mother, and you know, he lives with her, he looks after her. There's probably quite a few of you in that situation as well. It's relatively common. But anyway, I think that's quite enough about that. So thank you ever so much indeed once again for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like us, leave a comment below, and we shall see you again soon for more not really relevant music. Lloyd Consulting stickers, t-shirts and mugs are available by clicking the link to the Google form in the video description below.